We are recording the interview of Thomas Jones. This interview is being conducted by Jennifer Seavey from Wright State University's Veteran Voices Project. Also in attendance is Jennifer Myers. This interview is being recorded at Tom's home in Springfield, Ohio. It is 12 p.m. on April 22nd, 2016. Okay, Tom, where and when were you born?
3 February 1925 in Clinton, Indiana.
Who were your parents?
Say again.
Who were your parents?
Thomas J. and Ruth Jones of Clinton, Indiana. My dad served World War I in France.
Okay.
Okay.
What did your mom do?
She was a housekeeper mostly.
Okay. Do
and
you...
mother. Oh, I'm hamming it up again. Go ahead.
Do you have any siblings?
Do I have children?
Siblings.
I have.
Siblings. Brother, sister.
Siblings. I have a half-sister, Louise Garber, who is deceased.
Okay. Did she serve in the military?
Was she military?
No, negative.
Okay. What were you doing before you entered the service?
Say it again.
What did you do before Army?
I was going to college at Ball State after graduating from high school. When I realized I would be drafted, I went back home in January and got drafted in April.
What were you going to school for?
Recognizing it was a rather temporary thing, I took all the math and science I could get, that's all.
Okay.
I was not shooting for anything. It was teacher's college. I had no desire to be a teacher. I wanted to be an engineer. Okay.
Okay. What branch of service were you in?
What branch?
I was in the Army.
And were you active duty?
Say it again. Active duty. Yes.
Okay.
From April 43 till January 46.
Were you drafted?
Drafted.
Okay. Did you choose the Army or did the Army choose you?
Did you pick the Army or did they pick you?
Well, as I say, tempting to be amusing in paper you have. After we passed the physical, the Marine wasn't interested in me at all. I was too overweight, I think. The Navy looked and saw I was not colorblind and says, "We can take you." And I said, "I can swim, run faster than I can swim," and went to the Army.
Okay. So what was basic training like?
What was it like? A great learning experience with fear, sometimes terror involved. When the sergeant threatened to beat you physically, I was very much a misfit because before I got into any real training on the guns, I caught measles, had to go to the hospital. In the hospital I got scarlet fever. 30 days later I went back to my outfit and was absolutely useless compared to all the other guys.
Aww.
So ultimately they sent me to radio school at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey to get rid of me.
So did you graduate with your platoon?
Graduate from radio school, you say?
From your platoon.
Huh?
From your platoon.
I'm sorry, I can't get that.
Did you graduate from your platoon?
Graduate from my...
Platoon.
I don't know that word. Sorry, Jennifer.
You're okay.
Platoon.
Did you graduate with them?
Well, as I say, they sent me there to radio school. Then I went back to a casual outfit. Do you know what a casual outfit is?
No.
Shall I tell you? It's a place where they keep soldiers en route. Whole battalion, whole batteries and battalions of them waiting to get an assignment or going to an assignment.
Oh, okay.
So after I finished radio school, I apparently did well enough to go to radar school in Camp Murphy, Florida, and then back to my old Camp Han to a casual outfit, waiting for an assignment. And then we got an assignment and were shipped overseas.
Okay. Well, tell me a little bit more about your radio school.
About what?
Your radio school?
The radio school. All we did was learn to repair one radio set and get the basics of wire communication, telephone, and that sort of thing. And the only highlight I have there was climbing a telephone pole, which was very, very hard. And even worse after I got down and got cramps in my legs. But, that's about it.
Okay.
Camp Murphy was highly intensive training for 3 months on the SCR 584 radar, a radar used for laying coast artillery and anti-aircraft artillery guns. When I say laying, I mean pointing.
Okay. So what was your military occupation called?
MOS. I don't know. It's someplace but I don't know where. There was a radar repairman, qualified radar repairman.
Okay.
Forgotten the number.
Did you take airborne or any other specialized training?
Did I? Oh, thank you, Hen. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
No, only the repair training, and then ultimately joined an outfit, but we got a while to get there yet.
Okay. How did you adapt to military life since you were drafted?
I had no great problem. Maybe because the first sergeant stood up the first day and says, "If anybody doesn't think I'm boss, we'll go out behind the latrine." And he was a hulking Hispanic that I think was looking for a fight. So anyway, that scared this kid, and I towed the line after that pretty well.
Okay. So where all did you serve?
Where
all did you serve?
Where? I don't get that. Where are... This is a pain, I'm sorry.
No, stop apologizing. You're fine.
Where did I serve? Okay. Well, we're at Camp Han in a casual camp. So I'll just rip through for you a little bit. We went from there to Camp Ord, Fort Ord, which is up closer to San Francisco. We had 2 weeks intensive training there prior to going overseas. In the paper I gave you, I mentioned going through an infiltration course. You know, have other people talked about infiltration courses? I'll take a moment if you like. It's about 100-yard course where you crawl on your tummy with your gun between your elbows with live ammunition going over your head about 3 feet high. Machine guns going back and forth, and they teach you to keep your head down there. You don't need much coaxing because it's live. That's where I first lost my hearing, because I ran into a simulated mine with an explosion close by, and my ears started ringing. And 60 years later, 50 years, let's see. When I was 60, I was pretty deaf. And now I'm 90 and I'm very deaf.
Did you serve abroad?
Did I?
Did you go overseas?
I went overseas. I'll continue. From Fort Ord, after 2 weeks training, including shooting the rifle again on the courses and going through the infiltration course and the usual calisthenics, we went to Angel Island in San Francisco Bay next to Alcatraz. I think it was so nobody could get away. Anyway, later we boarded a ship went back to the docks and got on a troop ship, and some 3 weeks later landed in Noumea, New Caledonia, a French possession. And it was sort of a stop. We went to a casual camp there and ultimately had orders to get to our outfit. We got on another ship up to Milne Bay, New Guinea. While the battle was still presumably going on in New Guinea, I saw no action there though. And then from Milne Bay, caught a little army transport down to, I had made a mistake there. It was not Milne Bay, it was Finschhafen, then down to Milne Bay where I joined my outfit, 269th Coast Artillery. They took us up the gravelly beach at low tide to our outfit, and the CR-584 radar was there. I'm going to be employed well here, except it was all sealed up. They're getting ready to move. Instead of being Coast Artillery, they took us in our spare time and made us port battalion, where you're loading and unloading ships. We did that. Then came word, we're moving out. We got on another ship, went up to Hollandia in north part of New Guinea, sat in the harbor for 4 or 5 days, joined a convoy going north. At that time, Leyte battle was underway, and we never knew of any others, but on D+5 we landed at Lingayen Gulf in Luzon, and you can find all those on the map. And that was where we were going to go in and get our guns and become fighting men. Never did really happen. I can go on from there if you like. Okay, I was assigned, much in that document you have, I was assigned at first to help unload the ship. So we sat on the ship there and unloaded it for 4 or 5 days. Then we went to join our outfit. Each night on the ship, there were bombing attacks on there, and so it was a little uncomfortable being out in the middle of a bay with bombs dropping around. But anyway, nothing of consequence happened there. And then we went to join the outfit, and what a surprise. We had suddenly changed our occupation. On Luzon, for the first time in the Pacific, well, maybe Leyte too, but for the first time in the Pacific, they needed a long-haul capability. All the other islands were small. Now there's an island maybe 150 miles long, and they needed a hull. And we suddenly became a highway transportation division with trucks. And the first night out, I learned, I didn't have a civilian driver's license. First night out, I learned to drive a truck and double clutch. You know what double clutch is? It's an operation to get the gears to mesh. And so that's what we did then until the war was over. And I mentioned there one time then when I was assigned to a convoy, I found it was 3 semi-trailers came, and without training or any wherewithal or discussion, I became a driver of a semi-trailer and did that for a while. No real danger, maybe more danger from hijacking than from the enemy. There were snipers, bullet might hit a truck, but never felt personal. You know, if you have to shoot at somebody or somebody shooting at you, then it's personal. That never happened to me ever, thank goodness. Let's see.
What were you transporting?
Pardon?
What were you transporting?
Where were...
What were you transporting?
Oh, everything. We would haul food, gasoline out to Clark Air Force Base. We'd go down to docks and load a 6x6 truck have it loaded, take it to Clark Air Force Base, drop the tailgate, back up and throw the drums off of the bed of the truck and pull out and go back to docks again. That's the way we unloaded. Recently saw a ad, I think, on TV where some gal backed her BMW up and got rid of her boyfriend's clothes in the same way. You see that one? It's kind of cute. So let's see then. That was about it. Driving was hazardous. I had a couple of wrecks. So much dust you couldn't see. And we followed very close. I once rear-ended a guy in front of me and got 5 stitches in my lip. And another time I had a sailor, had a semi, and was supposed to bring prisoners back from up north, a prison camp up north. We took the load up, and then when we came back, the officer in charge says, "It's too late, it's going to be dark, and we don't want to haul prisoners after dark." I came back empty, and a truck going down a hill, truck coming toward me blinded me. I moved over, I caught a culvert, and I ended up going off the road. And when I hit, it was sunk, was burned by a steering wheel, and damage on elbows and knees, which ended my driving. And while I was recovering, I work in the orderly room, and now the war's over. People are going home fast. People are coming in fast. And so when the company clerk left, they made me be a company clerk. And I was company clerk until I started home. Then I went to another casual camp to wait. Then from there to the bay, a barge out into the bay, and up a cargo net onto the USS Hancock aircraft carrier, which had been equipped to carry 5,000 troops home in one trip. And that about ends almost everything. You want to go to Camp Stoneman with me, the first place we went? Then a steak and milk. Wow. And then a 3-day train ride back to Indiana. And there they told us that we'd be released Saturday. On Thursday we'd be released Saturday unless we had a medical complaint. My ears were still ringing, but no way was I gonna wait until Tuesday to get an exam. I went with the rest of them. Nobody volunteered. So I got home Saturday. And that was about my Army experience, the end of it, all detailed there.
What were your duties when you were on the aircraft and on the ships before you could get to your unit?
My duties when I was...
When you were traveling by ship?
Oh, okay. Hardly any duties. Anything to relieve the boredom. We played cards all day. On the aircraft carrier, it's kind of interesting. The chaplain gave us 15 softballs, and there was a net behind one of the elevators off the side of the thing. So that was home plate, and we hit into the superstructure at left field. And we could play softball a couple hours until we lost all the balls. There was some duties performed, like they wanted us to do some chipping and painting. We tried sometime, and sometime we gold bricked. Other ships you had nothing to do. The 2 other rides I had from San Francisco and from New Caledonia, nothing, just loaf around, lay on the deck, whatever. A very interesting short part, from Finchhaven to New Guinea, we rode a little Army mail boat, and it was maybe 150 feet long, a little one. And they said, first 30 people can go. And I started to pack my bag and go down and sign up. The fellows with us said, I'm not going down until they got 30 people. We'll stay here and wait out the war. Okay. I went down. I got on that little boat, and we rode swells for 2 days. I was seasick instantly, but I was able to walk off. Some guys had to be carried off. You can read an interesting thing about toilet facilities there on that, if you like. We don't. Do you see it there?
You have to share it.
Huh?
Can you share it?
Okay. You want me to discuss it?
Yeah.
That was a 2x4 structure hanging over the fantail. A one-holer. And with absolutely no privacy, you manage, you go sit on the thing, and in those swells, your butt would be from 20 feet up to 2 feet from the water, up and down. And so that was interesting part of that little 2-day trip. Lots of little things like that.
That's great. So while you were overseas, did you see any combat?
Not true combat, no. I saw Japanese soldiers. I helped bury soldiers after a battle, but we were not a combat unit. We were a support unit. And I'm sure you've been told that in those days, there were 10 guys behind every guy that did any real fighting to keep him supplied and all. And so in that sense, I was one of those 10 guys. So even though we saw mortar fire bombing and occasional sniper, it was non-combat.
So what kind of friendships did you form when you were in the Army?
Well, many friendships were fleeting. You meet somebody, you're buddy with them, and you never see them again. On a personal relations sense, I might mention this. At Camp Han, there were 4 guys who were good buddies. We were all radar trained. The power plant operator, radar repairman. 3 of us went overseas. The other regularly went to medics for his back and said he wasn't going to go overseas. I already mentioned Fitzhaven. They said go down to the boat, and 2 guys stayed behind to help me in many of my attitudes that came later in life. The Bulge, well, first of all, let's talk about Leyte. They emptied that casual camp to go to Leyte and threw them into combat. Those 2 guys were wounded. We got out from under that just because we followed our orders and left. From Camp Han, the person who stayed was thrown into Battle of the Bulge and killed. Also, 2 high school friends of mine that rode the bus from my hometown to the draft center while we were in Camp Han, they volunteered for parachutes, and they ended up in the Bulge, and they are deceased. So aside from that, I have never kept in touch with friends that I made, only fleeting friends.
Okay. Would you want to share the story of the grenades? You and your friends throwing the grenades?
I'm sorry.
Do you want to share the story about the grenades?
About?
The grenades.
The what?
The grenades.
I don't get that. What part are we talking about? Oh, okay, I can share that. Part of it. Parts marked out I don't want discussed. But after the war, where we had buried out there, where we'd buried Japanese and all, where there was a battle half a mile away. After the war, it's all calmed down. We used to go out there souvenir hunting, and I had a beautiful 31 caliber rifle and a little hand-carried 25 caliber bipod machine gun. I was going to bring them home, but when it come time to go home, I forgot them. But while we were out there, we found a cache of Japanese ammo. So we filter through this and take as much 25 and 31 caliber ammo as we could carry, just to use for plunking as we did around camp there. Well, we also found Japanese hand grenades, and my friend wanted to throw one. I demurred. I tried to talk him out of it, but we threw it ultimately and jumped in a foxhole and laughed when we got the boom, and that was all of the experiment. And off the record, you see.
Yep. So when you were driving, you said there was a danger of hijackers. Did you have that experience at all?
I didn't get most of that.
Did you ever get hijacked?
Hijacks? No, but as I say, that was probably one of the greater dangers. It did happen often, and I think the battery lost one person who was killed by a hijacker who was trying to, I had been told, I'd never experienced it, that if somebody jumps on the truck and starts throwing stuff off, let them. That's all, because that's what they really did if you're going slow. You see, and sometimes you drove 10 miles an hour for hours and hours and hours. Like I explained there, the 37th Division was going from Manila up to Baguio. Baguio was a resort town in the mountains, and it was over 100 miles. We had a probably 50 truck convoy going 10 miles an hour, 2 trips from the docks at Manila up to Baguio. And in all there we had 52 hours without any food or rest. Then when we finally, on the way back, we stopped to beg food at a roadside encampment, and they told us to be sure and bring our rifles, because nobody would be allowed in the chow line without a rifle, because the week before Japanese had sniped at the chow line and got a couple of guys. So we took our rifles and got our first meal in over 48 hours. That was the hardest we had to work. But because we worked 20 hours a day sometime, with 8 hours off and then go out again, I lost a lot of weight, about 30 pounds in 6 weeks or so. That's about the lightest I've been in my adult life.
What else did you and your friends do when you weren't working?
Again, I can't do that.
What did you and your friends do when off?
When we were off work, sleep. Later on, after the war, as I said, we went into Manila and we try to get a good meal in there, but probably trading cigarettes for the meal. But while there were still action and activities, we slept, we rested. That even came before food. That's why you lost so much weight. Nothing much to do otherwise. As I say, there was souvenir hunting. We took a memorable trip on Christmas. Before I came home, this is Christmas '45, and I left in first second week in January. We got a weapons carrier and loaded it with beer and fruitcake, which had come from relatives, not the beer, it was from PX, and went up a place called Tagaytay Ridge in the Philippines, a big, a steep road that went up. And on one side you could see Manila Bay, and the other side you could see an extinct volcano with a lake down there in an area called Batangas. And we went up there, and that was my last diversion of any kind, because the next week I went to the 5th Replacement Depot Casual Camp. I think it's 5th.
Okay. How did you stay in touch with your family and friends back home?
I stayed.
How did you stay in touch?
I said it started to say email. What did they? V-mail. These were little. We would write a letter, and then they'd photograph it and bring it down real small, and they would get home and built back up again, and then go. They called that email, and it was a lot easier than bags of mail.
Okay.
Speaking of mail, while I was unloading the ship in Lingayengo, the mail did come. We hadn't had mail for weeks, and there I learned of several of these people who had passed away, including a friend, next door neighbor, a lady, who had died in the meantime. Kind of touching. I sat there and read the thing, and it's over, you know.
So what did you do when you came back home?
You ever hear 5220? Not yet. Well, we most of us belong to 5220. The government gave us $20 a week for 52 weeks, as long as we were not employed. And I went home, and there's my friends. Most of them survived, and they're all on 5220, $20 a week. I immediately took up with her grandmom, and so for a good while I was on 5220, $20 a week. Once a week you went and told them you couldn't find a job. Not that we were looking that hard. And I also then applied for school at a school called Rose Polytechnic Institute, engineering school in Terre Haute, Indiana, now Rose Holman. And I applied there. I started there in January of '46. So I took 5220 for 6 months and went to school. And after 3 months and decided we could make it, we were married, her grandma and I. And 33 months later, graduated with honors and got a job at Wright Field. Down the road.
Oh, okay. What did you do there?
Research and development, infrared, electro-optics, radar. Also missile development, Falcon air-to-air missile. And then I took a job at Westinghouse, Baltimore, Air Arm Division, which later became a defense center. And there, same kind of thing, had several projects for weapon delivery and electro-optical projects, radar. Got deeply involved in the F-16 radar. It's amazing, that was 1906. I'm getting confused. I retired. It was 1976 when the F-16 radar competition was on. We won that, and generations of that radar are still continuing with generations of the airplane today.
Okay.
They really have a long life. And one of my plum assignments then was to head a small Belgian company that was monitoring co-production of parts of the F-16 radar in Belgium. I spent 3.5 years in Belgium. Came home, worked more of the same, and also system engineering, and retired.
Did your family go with you to Belgium?
Yes, my wife went with me to Belgium. The kids were grown, and her mom was in, where were they then? Oh, they were in Yokosuka, in Japan. Her mom and her husband were in Japan. And Susan and her husband were in Michigan. My son was in Baltimore. I wanted him to go with us and get a European education. He had other ideas. He stayed. He was adult, so that's the way I went.
Did any of your children serve in the military?
Say again?
Did any of your children serve in the military?
No, they did not.
Okay.
I should mention Nancy, her mom, was in a very real sense military, in that she was a military wife. And she traveled to Japan twice, and Wright Field for one session. And I don't know where else. That's about most of it, I guess, huh?
Washington, D.C.
Oh, Washington and
Close enough.
Okay. So, when you came home from the war, how were you received by the community?
I wouldn't say anything special one way or the other. Just matter of factly, like, glad to see you home. That's it.
Are you a member of any veteran organizations?
Any?
Veteran organizations?
No, I have been a member of the American Legion and VFW, and I still have thought about rejoining the VFW since it's close by and a good outfit. I haven't got around to it yet, but I'll see one of these days that it happens. So.
Have you ever taken the honor flight in Dayton?
Have I ever taken
honor flight. Honor flight.
honor? Oh yeah. Went on the honor flight. Delightful. Met a young lady there who was my guardian. Keep in touch with her. Went to the honor flight reunion last November, I think, and she was there. And I plan to see her in May when she's going on another honor flight, and I hope to be at the reception at the airport in May,
Okay.
depending on my health and the weather, and whether I drive down there, whether my car's working, and so on.
So what happened when you were on the honor flight? Do you want to share anything about it? Anything else?
Okay. First of all, I was surprised because they talked to Nancy, young lady behind them. Are they back there? Huh? They talked to Nancy. She must have given them a real story, because when I showed up, my guardian was a registered ER nurse from Miami Valley. And anyway, she took good care of me and hung in there well with me. And I told you about this lady named Jill. What else was the question? Let me show you. I forgot. Honor flight, anything. That's about it, I guess.
Okay.
It was quite an experience. The people here, this guy Tom told me about it, that you met, told me about it, and then I applied, and I have since told other people here, and quite a few of us from here, probably I would guess 8 of us from here have been on honor flight.
Okay.
Here in the old folks' home.
So how did your military experience affect your life?
Well, read your last chapter down there. But I would say that it was as valuable as my college education. It really was. I learned discipline. I learned you had to do things you didn't like to do. You had to take orders you didn't like to do. I just felt that I grew up a lot then. I did a lot better in school afterwards than I probably would have done, and was able to graduate with honors. It taught me to work, to persevere in spite. And in other words, you start as a spoiled teenager and you come out half a man. Okay? Mm-hmm. I think universal military training ought to exist for every man and woman between the age of 18 and 21 for 1 year, if only that, just to get them away from home and let them learn to interface in a disciplined environment. my feeling.
So how has your military experience impacted your feelings about war and military in general?
I'm sorry, honey. Where? Military should impact being. War is necessary. It's an unfortunate necessity. The necessity is abused. Politicians often go to war when they shouldn't. You should go to war for your own protection and to protect your way of life. Then you should fight to the death to win. What we have done in World War II, we did. Since then, most of the wars have been for political reasons, and they have been stopped without winning. Perhaps not losing, but without winning. What's the point of a war there? I don't understand that part. Okay?
Mm-hmm. What message would you like to leave for future generations who will hear this interview?
I've just given it to you. Get prepared. Grow up. Recognize that readiness for war for our nation is of paramount importance, and using it is a major and serious decision that should not be lightly considered. Okay?
Okay. Is there anything else you feel that we haven't discussed or should be added to this interview?
I don't think I told you about... Did I tell you about measles? No.
Yeah.
And Scott, I did. Okay, that's all.
That's good. Okay. All right, well then that concludes our interview, and thank you for your service.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you.